Hey there, what's going on, everybody? Welcome. Today is Tuesday. It's August 9th, 2022. My name is Jeremy, and this is my first cup. Perfect. Good morning, John. How's it going? How's everybody doing? I want to know who's here. I want you to comment in the chat. I like recognizing names. I like knowing which of my friends are here. Good morning, Jenny. And I want to know how your Monday went. Mine, how do I say this as succinctly as possible? An old friend was in town unexpectedly, and I took a half day. No, I stopped work at about 2. That's not really a half day, but I knocked off early. We had some food, and it was nice to catch up. It's been a long time. It's been 6-8 years. This was someone who was in my life quite deeply for a long time, and moved away, and you lose touch with people. Good morning, Dennis and Mark and Stacy and all the rest of you, whether you're watching live later or listening. Just a reminder, I haven't mentioned this lately, but thumbs up and likes and hearts and all those good things that you can do, those do help other people find the show. If I take a big step back and look at the numbers, we have grown a little bit over the last few months, which is kind of cool. So, hope we can continue growing, because this show is unique. And it's unique in part because you all contribute a lot to it. And I thank you for that. Good morning, Andy. And he says, that's awesome. I'm glad you reconnected. Me too. Had a firearms lesson. That was great. I'm running the air conditioner again because it's gross and muggy out. The temperature's finally down. It's in the 70s, but it is humid. Good morning, Gad. And I want to know what you did. Good morning, Mike. I want to know what you did yesterday. How was your Monday? What happened? What were the highlights? Did you train? Did you not train? What'd you do? What did I do for training yesterday? Did a little bit of kicking, not much. Honestly, I didn't do much training yesterday. And so I've got a question for you today. We're going to talk about towards the back of the show. When you train solo, what is your favorite drill or exercise or thing to do that others, when we talk about it, once you type it out, might say, oh, that's a great idea. I want to do that. Right? Let's share some drills and see if we can give other people some ideas on some solo training. Hello, Mark. What else happened? Had a great mastermind call with the school owners group yesterday. Had a couple client meetings. Those went well. And I'm going to be really honest with you guys because I try to be honest. Oh, nice. Stacy got her tickets to my first show at the Flynn, which is the large cultural theater in Burlington. They do, what have I seen there? I've seen political discussions. I've seen orchestral music, comedy shows, a bunch of cool stuff. Plays. What are you going to see? We'll come back in a second. Jenny says, yesterday was a time suck. I took longer to do everything than I planned and somehow lost a couple of hours in my day. Dinner wasn't until 7. We usually eat around 5:30. I don't know what happened, but it was yummy. Well, pardon me. That's normal for me for Mondays. Mondays never go as efficiently as I think they should or I want them to. It's I've talked about this before, the transition, the kind of efficiency loss of going from weekend mode to work mode. I lose a lot. Stacy says, and I got this email notifying me I'm in the house for free training day. You sure are. Sure are. Andrew and I have a meeting about free training day this evening, and I started setting out some things for what we got to talk about. Ooh, it's a big agenda. We got to talk about shirts and the logo because the logo is done, which means we can get the logo done for the other two venues for South and for Northwest. And next thing that we're going to roll out, which is new. There's a bunch of cool new stuff going on that I'm super excited about. It is going to be an epic weekend. And I've said it before, come for the weekend. Plan to be there Friday evening, plan to leave Sunday. You will see as we get closer. Now, if you can't make it the whole weekend, doesn't mean you shouldn't come. The core, the primary, the main reason to be there is free training day on Saturday, November 12th. But if you're not in the Northeast, you've got October 15th in Atlanta, just outside Atlanta, in I believe the town is called Covington, and in Portland, Oregon, the next Saturday, October 22nd. Yep, I'm flying and home and flying and home. She's going to. Stacy says she's going to see a troupe called Step Africa. Never heard of them, but sounds cool. So here's what's going on with me. I need a break. I'm realizing that as I become more efficient, as I'm learning how to more effectively burn the candle at both ends, I need to also develop better strategies for relaxing, taking time off, doing things that sustain myself. No, it doesn't mean that I don't love what I do. I do. But I'm starting to get the very, very early signals from my body that this is what I'm doing is not going to sustain. I need to take some time off. So I'm starting to look at that and how I'm going to implement that and how I'm going to do that more proactively. How do I do that? Do I, book things out months in advance? That's probably what I'm going to do because that's the easiest thing given what I do. Because I've been trying to say no to things and it doesn't work. Stopping work at about 2:00. Maybe it was 1:30 yesterday. Was nice. I needed that. Dennis says yesterday he trained, worked, slept hard, up this morning and repeat. Woo! Gad says not so warm yesterday, so got a solo training at home in. Probably the only one this week as it promises to get tropical again. Ugh, so gross. So gross. I don't like it. Isn't it interesting how narrow a set of temperatures and humidity, weather conditions we are comfortable in? We can certainly survive in 75 degrees and what feels to be 100% humidity, but I don't like it, so I change it. We can survive in 85 and direct sun. We don't want to. It's hot. We can survive in 55 and a cool breeze. We don't want to, so we go inside and light a fire. Out of all the temperatures that things could be, think about how cold things can get in space and how hot things can be in, I don't know, variety of places. And it's really a relatively narrow set of temperatures that we've adapted to. I find that fascinating. The friend I was having food with yesterday, we were talking about how she was born in Florida and has distinct memories of being in Florida. And it getting really hot and her not caring. And then at 10, she moved north and her body missed the warm and went, but when she moved back close to 30 years later, she wasn't as tolerant of the heat anymore. It's interesting, right? Kelly says today she's already being productive. Just took banana bread out of the oven. The house smells great. Banana bread? Okay. Is there anything that you can turn from, just like a raw ingredient to a thing, to some kind of processed, prepared food that is a better transition? Bananas are fine. Banana bread is amazing. Actually, zucchini might be more dramatic because zucchini is not as good as bananas. But zucchini bread's pretty darn good. Mike says, my favorite solo drill. Oh, we're going to come back to that later. I want to talk about those later. I've starred that. We'll come back to that. And Jenny says, to heck with this heat. Am I right? We are in our 4th extended heat wave in my area. I've lost track of how many days long this one has been because it really doesn't matter anymore. Oh, and Mike says, we can't function at 132 and even 42% humidity. Kuwait taught me this. Oh. Yeah, pumpkin bread. Mike says also pumpkin bread. Yeah, it's, basically anything we turn into a bread. Pumpkin bread, zucchini bread. I've had squash bread. Like, I don't even know what kind of squash it was. Speaking of squash, my squash are going crazy. I've got weird pumpkins or something growing and butternut squash and all kinds of things. We've got about another month of growing, and I'm looking forward to however many I have. Potatoes, there are a bunch of potatoes going. Kelly says, my kids used to ask me to buy bananas for the sole purpose of not eating them, so they turn brown for bread. I'll read this one first. And Stacy says, bananas are my back and my body food. If I start to feel disconnected from the world and fuzzy on reality going on around me, hand me a banana or crystallized ginger. Oh, interesting. Do you think that's nutritional or, just kind of like a habit, like psychosomatic? Interesting. Gad says to Jenny, and the people who just, quote, love this sunny weather, whenever I tell them I am not partial to the summer, they look at me like I'm from another planet. And Jenny says her boys still have her buy bananas to hang out. They're 20, 18, and 14. Oh, and there's Josh. So fun fact, Josh is not that far away from me right now. We're figuring out when we're going to get together. Get this message. Actually, it's this. I've received 2 messages in the last week like this. One was Sunday night. And whenever Josh sent me his, hey, we're in Vermont. Although Josh was a little preemptive. We're going to be in Vermont. Okay, we'll figure something out. If any of you come to Vermont, and not like southern Vermont, because I've had people do this. They're like, hey, we're in Vermont. You're in Brattleboro. That's 2 hours away. Not that I can't drive 2 hours, but that's not near me. That's like me going to Albany and telling friends in New York City, hey, I'm in New York. Oh, coffee is perfect. I'm getting good. Yeah, Stacy, Josh is actually closer to you right now than he is to me. I won't give up where he is. He may not want people to know that, but he's here. Take care, Andy. Have a good one. All right. And what am I doing today? Go and do some IT work for a client. Anything else? I think I have a meeting with Justin. Do I have a meeting with Justin this morning? Because he's back. Yep. I have a meeting with Justin this morning. And we'll talk about free training day. And we'll talk about Marshall Journal. Reminder, if anybody wants to write for Marshall Journal, and I hope at some point all of you do, you all have things to contribute. It is a wonderful project, and you can share your thoughts, your experiences. There's a wonderful team of editors that will help you become a better writer. It's a skill. It's a skill we can all benefit from. Mike, I'm not sure if you're telling me to not tell you or if there's a word in there missing. Mike says, "Well, if you're ever in Nebraska, don't tell me. I will kick your butt." I don't know if he's actually threatening to kick my butt because I know Mike, or if he's saying, "And I don't tell him, he'll kick my butt." Oh yeah, and don't tell me. Okay, if I come to Nebraska, it's probably to see you. Um, yeah. So let's talk. let's talk about this. So Mike kicked us off. I asked you what what are your favorite drills for training solo? And Mike says, my favorite solo drill is a visualization drill where I visualize in as much detail as possible a specific technique. Visualizing the smallest details, I visualize the technique from my point of view, then from the opponent's point of view, then from the point of view of a third party from across the street. Oh, I like that. Most people, or I don't know if I should say this. I can do a pretty good job of visualizing things from one angle. But this is actually something I've practiced a little bit. I find it really interesting. I try to practice visualization not just from no eye perspectives, but bird's eye view. What would it look like right now if you were a bird looking down on you, flying over your head? What would it look like from 50 feet, from 100 feet? And I think there's a lot of value here because one, it's a good mental exercise, makes you think. Two, you could practice this. You could have someone take a picture for you and you could think about it and try to get all the details and then look at the picture. Oh, what did I miss? I didn't think about this. I didn't think about that. I didn't think about this. You could even do this solo. I mean, smartphones are pretty cool. There's lots of timers and ways that you could accomplish this. So I like that drill. Nice idea. Good morning, Nathan. Dennis says shadow fighting is my go-to solo drill, always a favorite, and I'm mine as well. I'm curious, Dennis, do you modify it? Do you have any kind of parameters that you put up at times? Do you do it for a specific time? Do you do it with specific goals, specific techniques, or is it just kind of to go? When I do it, it's more to move. I'm trying to connect movements. I'm trying to reduce the time in between techniques and flow. That's what I'm looking to do. Hey, Cecil's here. Cecil says, forms are my favorite solo exercise. Sometimes I have done them on ice, on rocks, holding weights, out of order, kneeling, etc. I love that. We did a episode of Martial Arts Radio years ago, and it was something like 20 different ways you could modify forms. And it's not even close to all the ways. I mean, we just mentioned a couple here that aren't in that episode. This is one of the main reasons I love forms. It gives you something to do that is infinitely variable. And you don't have to think about what do I do. You just have to think about how do I do it? Do I do it fast? Do I do it slow? Do I do it for time? Do I do it for precision? Do I do it in a small space? Do I do it in a big space? Do I make changes to the stances to condition my legs, right? Like there's so many ways. And I saw yet again on a Facebook post last night, forms are dumb. Goofy people. My favorite solo drill is I pick a spot and I could put up like some painter's tape or something for this, but I don't. I pick a spot. Most of my house is wood, so there's knots and other reference points that are pretty visible. And I kick it. And then I move to a different angle and I try to kick the same spot. I move to a different angle, trying to kick the same spot. Maybe with a different kick, maybe with the same kick. Then I will step away and try to make contact with that exact spot. And I'll get closer and I play this game. How do I make contact with a particular striking tool, maybe the ball of my foot, on that target, regardless of where I am? And sometimes it has me doing crazy kicks, weird kind of fall back, spinning hook kicks, etc. And because here's the thing, of all the elements of training, accuracy for me is one of the first to go. I stay pretty active. Conditioning, strength isn't going to be my issue. The techniques I do have been doing for a long time. I don't need to do a lot of them to maintain technique. But the accuracy, I find if I let that go, it's where I start to fade. Gad says, what I sometimes do is think of a combo like left punch, right punch, roundhouse, and using a Tabata timer on my phone, which is 20 seconds work, 10 seconds of rest for those of you who don't know. Do that combo a certain number of times in the set time. You can do it on the bag as well. I like that. Dennis responds how he does his shadow fighting, typically 3-minute rounds, sometimes just boxing techniques, oftentimes kickboxing techniques, always trying to improve movement and flow. Sometimes for added challenge, I'll hold a pair of 3-pound dumbbells as I'm working. Kelly says, I either do patterns or chairs. Use a chair for balance if needed. And slow kicking, focusing on chamber execution and rechamber, holding each position for a length of time. I don't think there is a better tool for practicing kicking than a chair. It's awesome. And it's so simple. Because once you get to stop worrying about balance entirely, you can put 100% of your attention into other elements. And as you get better, it's not like you have to get rid of the chair. You can just kind of use less pressure on the chair, or just kind of hover your hand over the chair in case you need it, but you still feel safe. It's a great tool. Mark says, training in the woods, forms are perfect for this. Ooh, I like that. Then he says, would you do forms in a box? Would you do forms with a fox? Would you do them here or there? Would you do them anywhere? I would do them everywhere. I don't know what to rhyme with that. Dennis says, chair kicking is the shizzle. And Stacy says, Jenny, who has a toddler? Ha ha ha. Would you do them in a boat? Would you do them with a goat? We can even do them with no hair. You guys are awesome. Oh, Gad's bringing us back to reality. Visualization is essential. I do one-step sparring like this and think of techniques I can use. There's another drill that I've done for myself that kind of incorporates some visualization that is kind of like one-person chess. If you're at all a chess player, you know that one of the things that chess players will do to get better is to play themselves. You can do the same thing with kind of sparring or self-defense or however you want to see it, where I'm going to do this technique. What would be the most appropriate defense? And then how would I handle that back and forth? And what you'll find is, well, you'll find two things. There are certain techniques that are incredibly efficient and don't leave a lot of opportunity for the defender. But also, there are times where you probably thought your partner was being a jerk. You're like, I really feel like I had you at this. But then you're defending it yourself and you're like, oh, okay. They had something here. Whether we're talking about martial arts or debating a subject, understanding the other side, the other perspective, or just another perspective is really valuable. So Josh says, did some solo training yesterday in front of Lake Champlain and about to again. That's awesome. And Josh says, Forums by the Lake is one of my favorites, right up there with Forums on the beach. How about Forums in the woods? Forums on the mountains? You know, there are lots of things I would like to do with kind of promos and social media that we're just not quite big enough yet. We've tried to do some of these things in the past and they land kind of flat. I'd love to do one with, you know, record yourself doing a form in an unconventional place. And I wouldn't have to put any parameters on it other than that. People would come up with some neat stuff. They would do it in the water and in the woods, and somebody would probably do one on their roof. But we're not there yet. We need like another order of magnitude before we get there. We'll get there. Just chipping away. Mike says sparring in the lake is always fun. I don't think you know, I'm sure I have. I just don't remember it. So I hope rattling off all those drills gave you some ideas of some drills that you could do to train solo. I think you all know my feelings that any training is better than no training. Training under an instructor is important, but it doesn't mean that you don't carry some of the responsibility yourself to get better. Because let's face it, life is busy, time is fleeting, and if you can throw 5 minutes a day at your training, just 5 minutes, there's another 25 hours a year. What can you do in 25 hours? You can do a lot. What if you worked a single technique? What if you picked your worst technique and worked on it? Forget 5 minutes, 2 minutes. What if you picked a single technique that you knew you needed to practice on and just did it for 2 minutes every day? 30 seconds a day. If you can't find 30 seconds to do something, it's not important to you. But I bet you could. And I bet you would be shocked at one day when you're like, wait a second, I'm not as bad at this as I was. And then not long after, I'm pretty good at this. So there you go. And we'll end on Gad's comment here. It's a great one. I also feel that at home, I get a bit more chance to work on things that are the basics, like balancing exercises. It was the best thing I ever bought for balance. Pretty cool. Like $20. All right, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Remember, if you want to support us and all the things that we do, you can join our Patreon, patreon.com/blissfulkick. The School Owners Mastermind is pretty awesome. And just a reminder to the school owners out there who might see it, it becomes tax deductible. Your Patreon is now tax deductible if you do this. Part of the reason we did it. We've also got the code FIRSTCUP15 to save you 15% at whistlekick.com. And if you are family, just check out all the things that are familial in our organization. I didn't update that page yesterday. It'll happen this week. Check it out sometime soon. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope to see you back here tomorrow. Take care, everybody. Peace.